Hello and welcome to WinWin Live. I'm joined today by Nicolas Levi, who is the CEO of Pay in the UAE. We're going to hear a little bit more about the creation of what its vision is, and what the future holds for the cashless society in that region of the world. So welcome, Nicolas. We're delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Pay is a young business, so perhaps we should start with that. When did you start? How did you fit in? And what is the part that you're playing in the UAE 2031 Cashless Society program?
It's a big part, hopefully. First, let's say what it means to be a cashless society. I think all societies in the world want a cashless society because it improves the easiness of use for the customer, it improves the ecological impact because you don't have paper anymore, and it improves the traceability of the transactions. So everybody aims in the world to do a cashless society. Very few of the countries have been able to achieve it, but as often the UAE has a very strong vision and gives always the means to achieve this vision. So the UAE commitment is that by 2031, the full economy will be cashless, which means that everything will be digital. Every payment, every loans, every transaction should have to be cashless. There are two kinds of population in the UAE, which are already more or less cashless. Payment with the phone is already very used, but there is part of the population who still use cash. So people like us, an enterprise like us, and fintech like us aim to drive this financial inclusion toward a full cashless society.
Is not a bank. Is a mobile network operator. So it's a leading carrier in the UAE. It released Pay to support that vision you just explained. Could you please just tell us a little bit about how Pay has developed in the UAE?
We launched April 22nd of this year, so we are still a new baby born, let's say, just with 6 months. First, to answer the first part of your question, is not a bank. None of the telecom operators are a bank, but now most of the telecom operators are owning mobile financial services who are leading usually the path in each of these countries, especially in Asia or Africa. And why that? Because the telecom operator have a huge access to the customer, very huge customer base. They have a very huge distribution network, so the access to the customer and the cost of acquisition of a customer is much lower than for a bank, for instance. And they also have a brand and data that we can reuse as a fintech from the telecom operator. So the telecom gives everything to the fintech to be able to work properly and to be different from the bank, because the bank are not necessarily interested in acquiring some customers. So based on this thinking, has created Pay. So the journey lasts, let's say, 18 months. By the time to have the central bank agreement, to create the company, to create the offer, to have all the IT systems ready to use, and a full app, which is, I think, the best app in the market, because the customer experience is key for this kind of population. And so we don't disclose figures, but what I can tell you is that after 6 months, we are 3 to 4 times ahead of our forecast, which were ambitious. So we are very happy with the traction that we are seeing, and we are very comfortable with the future of Pay and with the target to do financial inclusion in the country.
And so we talked about financial inclusion and the significant growth. How is that growth being achieved? What is it that's attracting largely the underserved, I think, the banking underserved?
Yeah. It's if you take UAE, which is a 10.5 million people country, despite what we may think instinctively, you still have 60–70% of the population which is not well served by the banks. This is mostly the expatriates coming from the South Asian continent. And these people are not necessarily the people that the bank wants to target, because it's hard to get, because it's costly to get, because the revenue is not that good. So they are not very well served. They are usually having a salary card. They have to cash out their money, so create paper money. Then they have to take the bus to queue to remit to an exchange house. Then they don't have payment cards, so they have to manage everything by cash and so on. So this 6 to 7 million people are not necessarily very well served. So by the fact we are a telecom operator subsidiary and we already speak to these guys 10 times a day sometimes, then we have been able, because we bundled our offer with the telco, to provide them with a very easy app to use in 6 languages. So we are the only one in the market to have 6 languages. And we also provide additional gigabyte for using the data. Mobile data is quite expensive in the UAE, so it's really something very important and valued for money for them. And we also have a very simple onboarding and very attractive tariff for remittance, sending money back home.
Wow, okay, so that's, you're very much targeting that underserved, I'm sure you have bigger ambitions, but that underserved area. So if you're dedicated to providing convenient and cost-effective financial services for these underserved, what is the overall goal for the business? Underserved is the first bit, and do you see it more broadly, or do you see that as being the primary goal that will stay where you are for the main service of Do?
No, this is, I think you have to start by where you can bring real value. So I think we can bring real value to this population, so that's where we start, and we see that the population is very reactive to the proposition we are making and that we are getting traction from that. But of course we are not going to stay in that segmentation. First, because DoPay can be also used by the owners of householders and so on to pay the domestic workers. Right. So we will get part of the premium segment, as we say, and because it's a very easy solution to pay people. There are 800,000 domestic workers in the country, so, and most of them are still paid by cash. So it's a very easy solution for the premium people to pay their employee, their nanny, their gardener, and so on. So it's a way of extending our proposition. We will extend also in the financial services space the offer we are having to go more for lending, for financing, for doing a lot of new product to have a super app providing all financial services. So we will target more and more this kind of premium population. And by the way, there is also a segment which is quite underserved in the UAE, which is the very small company, the SOHO and SME or self-entrepreneur. It's very difficult sometimes to get a bank account and a credit card in the UAE. So we want also to be the one to facilitate, because you provide both telecom activity and both the account and the payment gateway and so on. We envisage, let's say, we consider entering this field.
Thank you, that's really interesting. I guess last but not least, what's for the future for DoPay? What's the specific price plans? What's the plans about finance and digital lifestyle, and how are you going to integrate DoPay both into the broader mobile lifestyle and perhaps geographically as well?
Well, first, let's be successful in the UAE. So here again, I want to have some rationale before thinking every expansion. I think we need to first serve properly and successfully the UAE market. The integration between the telecom operator and the fintech as DoPay is native, I would say, which means that we are providing bundles. We are the only one in the market, so that it makes sense for the customer to have both Do and DoPay because they will get additional gigabyte. We will provide a lot of new bundles to try to get to the customer more specific benefits when they recharge they top up their telecom prepaid, or if they pay their bill on the postpaid market. And there are a lot of capabilities in device financing, in the payment gateway and so on that we can rely on with the telecom operator. So the link is obvious. Yes. So it will not be dismissed, it will be straightened, because also the data that is providing to Do, and also the data we will provide to Do as our customer base can be beneficial for both of us.
Yeah, very much so. And geographically, you'll take it elsewhere, or will you just stay in the UAE for the time being?
For the time being, there is no plan going elsewhere than the UAE.
And I understand it's only 5 months, yeah? We have to be fair to you.
Exactly.
But it seems to be going well. Well, congratulations. Thank you so much to Nicola for joining us today and helping us to understand a lot more about what's going on with DoPay. It's a fantastic business, and it looks like it's going to be a very exciting addition to the UAE 2031 ambitions. Delighted to be able to do this today. Look forward to join us again soon on WinWin Live. Thank you.